An inadequately prepared Notre Dame football team actually was winning this game early in the third quarter, but Louisville scored 26 of the next 29 points, and this offensive and defensive line-driven program was driven into the ground as Louisville wins here tonight in L&N Stadium, 33-20. Tim, 5 turnovers, no running game, really hammered in the trenches, which is the exact opposite of what we were predicting would happen. This team was not prepared in any way to compete for 60 minutes tonight. Marcus Freeman said it himself. He took the word that I was going to use, that they were not adequately prepared to play tonight, and it showed, particularly in the second half.
Yeah, in the first half and in going into the middle of the third quarter, you thought you were going to be writing the story that said, well, the Notre Dame defense showed up again because they forced 4 straight punts, another one to start the second half. And then after that, there were 6 straight scoring drives by Louisville to seal this game. Now, there's 4 field goals involved, but that's what they needed in those situations. 6 scoring drives. Notre Dame punted, turned it over on downs twice. We'll get into that one. 2 interception downs as well. Then, of course, the late touchdown when it got a little bit frantic. There's a million decisions that go into a football game, and there's a lot of bad ones in this one, and we're going to be able to argue about a bunch of them. But there is a chance when it's 4th and 11 at your own 35-yard line with 9 minutes left to be able to punt the ball and get the ball back if you're Notre Dame and still have a chance. Now, I can see Marcus Freeman probably thought, we are gassed. We're not able to stop the run anymore.
Defensively,
yes. I want to see if we can pick it up on first down, but then you have a different play call on third down. That I'm nitpicking now for no reason because the offense stunk today and blocked nobody, and with a haphazard, let's try to rotate some guards and centers in here in game number 7. It's not August 24th.
It was a dreadful plan. They had no answers on third down. Jared Parker, this is now 3 games in a row where they can't score. I thought he did some good things against Ohio State, but the last 2 games have been dreadful. The third down play calling was just
curious
abysmal.
too. It was not only poor; it was curious at times.
It was abysmal, and it was unsuccessful first and foremost. And there really wasn't. There's nothing to really say positive about this team after Spencer Schrader hit his second bomb. Now, I guess it was the first one to give him the 10-7 lead, but at that point, and you're right, Tim, I mean, the defense was gassed. The decision to go for it on 4th down.
It hardly lost the game. I'm not saying that. It piles on and
I get
the
it,
problems.
But, I mean, it was all part of the bigger picture problem here tonight that this team was not prepared in any way to play 60 minutes of football. Louisville, I mean, give Louisville credit. And Jack Plummer won a game against Notre Dame, but at best, that's a slightly above average football team that ended up manhandling Notre Dame.
At one point, I leaned over to you and I said they're getting killed by an average football team. And the Notre Dame offensive line played its worst game I can recall since, I guess, last week. Since last year in the first half against Cal and some of the Marshall game when everything was in flux, and this was still in flux. It doesn't. I agree with Marcus Freeman. That was the first question I asked post game. Why did you do the rotation? We need better play from our guards. I completely agree. You need better play for your guards, but it really looked like some grab bagging in there. Even Andrew Kristofic going in for Zeke Correll, and Zeke Correll had a terrible game last week, but Andrew Kristofic going in for a series, and Billy Schroth going in once at left guard and once at right guard, without much success either way. It was just a strange grab bag effort, I felt, in terms of we would have to get a spark for our guards. If you need better guard play, I think you just pick your 2 best guards over that particular practice week. Short yardage was worse than regular third down. Short yardage situations, I would love to go back and see if they gained yards on a third and short. A yard on third and short.
It was negative yardage, and Jeremiah Love had 5 carries for 37 yards, but Audric Esme 10 carries, 20 yards. They were not moving people at all,
no.
And you can't help but think. I mean, our thoughts during the week about Notre Dame would win the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. I didn't see why there was any reason for that not to happen, but it happened tonight, and just the lack of preparation to play at a high level. When that happens, you didn't lose the game out here on the field. You lost it during the week.
They lost in both places because they got their butts kicked out of the field as well. I mean, there was plenty of plays to be made out there to stay close enough to be within striking distance, other than the craziness with down 20 points to Louisville at home with 4 minutes left. You knocked me over with the feather that was going to happen because it wasn't a bunch of interception touchdowns either. They just got beat up on both lines. And They got beat up more on offense, to be fair. I mean, I do think the defense wore down a little bit.
That's what it was.
There were some missed run fits there, and there's miscommunications and things, but they still succumbed in the second half by allowing 6 scoring drives. Not all of them were long drives, but the defense did not play winning football in the second half.
No, I want to be fair to the defense. I mean, they kept them in the game,
Yes,
and they just they ran out of gas. I mean, they had to keep coming on the field, and Jawar Jordan's a really good running back. You hear the Louisville media talk about, well, that was the best that the offensive line has played this year.
They got a consistent push. You were looking and thinking to yourself, they're getting
from the very first first series, they actually got
a 3-yard push, and you're getting 4 and 5 yards. Where Notre Dame was getting no push and losing a yard. It was just a drastic difference, really, in the line play.
Yeah,
Jordan
Faison. I was just going to bring up Jordan Faison, but I mean, we knew that. Here's the thing that I think is bothersome. We knew in the preseason that he was playing like one of the best receivers
on the team. One of the 7 best wide
receivers,
right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And half a season goes by before you're forced to put him on the field. You put him on the field, he makes 2 plays, and how many snaps did he have after that?
And then he disappeared on multiple third and obvious passing situations, which I just found strange, including the 4th down play where Audric Estime was split wide on a 4th down empty backfield on 4th and 11. I don't know about the personnel there. I understand that it's possible Jordan Faison, and I thought about this after I was criticizing the situation during the game, that he does not know all of the packages that he can come in. But then you go back to a package that works with Jordan Faison because he's the guy that made 2 plays for you. Other than Mitchell Evans, who else made a play in the passing game?
Yeah, Sam Hartman, 23 of 38 with 3 interceptions. You're desperate and you're throwing the ball up, and they're going to pick you off. It's a good secondary. He did have 2 touchdown passes and threw for 254 yards, but the running game, 28 carries for 44 yards against. Again, we talked about their defensive ends, and they're pretty good defensive ends, but there's no reason whatsoever that this offensive line shouldn't have had success against this defense running the football, and they weren't even close.
No, they were bludgeoned most of the game, and I think that's the biggest takeaway from this is you don't generally fix. Now it's 2 weeks in a row. You don't generally fix an offensive line going into a game like USC. I know USC's defense isn't great, but they still have athletes, and they're going to attack Notre Dame's interior. They're going to have plenty for Notre Dame's guard and center. It's strange we're talking about this right now in game number 7 because there were signs through the first 5 games that, the line is gelling. The line will it's not going to be a nationally strong line. We never thought that, but it was going to be a part of the team that could help them win every game, play winning football. It has just gone south since that Ohio State game. And I'm not sure what the cure is because shuffling is not.
Definitely not.
And I don't know if Billy Schroth is the answer at this stage of his development either. It seems maybe you have to stick with what you had, but I get you need help on the line. I understand you want to switch it up. I just think that's the practice week thing, and it's not for the first quarter bisecting the second quarter on the road at Louisville to throw him in there.
Now, each one of the offensive linemen was buried
at some point,
that were virtually cockroached, maybe didn't exactly go to the ground, but were sent backpedaling. Every one of them went through that situation. And so now you're going into a USC game where your confidence is at an all-time low for this team this year. How in the world are you going to keep up offensively when you can't score against Louisville? We could stand here and say, look, Ohio State has the number 2 scoring defense in the country, and Duke has the number 7 scoring defense in the country, and it was valid. Those are good units. Louisville had a really nice game defensively against NC State last week, but NC State offensively has spit the bit.
They play quality defense, not dominant defense. This was dominant defense by Louisville, and it's a shocking development 7 games in.
That's a good way to put it. We could go on, but you know the story. Louisville 33, Notre Dame 20.